Hi and welcome to AXSChat. We're delighted to welcome back for a second time, repeat visit for Dr. Christopher Lee from Georgia Tech. Christopher, it's great to have you with us again. It was a real pleasure to meet you in person a few weeks back at Enabling. Uh, Great conference, great to meet a number of the rest of the AMAC crew there as well. Good to see what you're doing. So can you tell us a little bit more about some of the work that you've been doing in the intervening, 15 months or so since we've been last speaking to you?
Well, we've AMAC's done a lot more in the area of ICT accessibility, thanks to Debra and a few other specialists out there. And we're right now working with IAAP and handling the day-to-day certification logistics of running the different exams. And that's been pretty exciting. So it's given us kind of a view of what's going on out there from a global standpoint and what other countries are doing. And I have to tell you, with just not only myself, but my team, just their eyes have opened up with just the incredible things that are happening over in Europe and other places, and we're pretty excited about it.
Great, and I know that I've done some of the work with your team. I contributed a bit to the WAS exams, maybe
Yep.
less than I could have done.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But
It's
yeah.
yeah, and it's difficult to coordinate diaries across 20 different organizations and lots of
Yes.
different time zones. So they did a good job on that.
Yeah, we're really happy with it. We launched the web accessibility specialist at Enabling, which is where I saw you at, and we've had several people already take the exam, and we've received really nice feedback coming back. And the exam is, we really worked real hard to make sure that it was international. So bringing people like you and others into the mix made a big difference.
Great. So we share something in common, and that is we both have dyslexia, and it's a print disability, and that's an area that doesn't always get covered in as much detail in some of the accessibility stuff. So it's the stuff that AMAC is working on, particularly to focus on people with print disabilities.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, we have AMAC focuses on print-related disabilities, and like you said, that mostly it's the visual impairments, the blindness, but the cognitive piece is crucial. And the majority of our students that we serve through our institutions that we serve, and there's about 500 or so that we serve throughout the U.S., and now we're moving into Canada actually. And majority of 65 to 70% of those individuals have cognitive disabilities that we serve. So we really have the student's voice coming back to us in this specific area, and that's made our products and our services much better. And also we've learned a lot through the process, particularly around assistive technology, around training. How do we make sure that our wikis are in plain language so that individuals with cognitive disabilities can actually read them if they're not using assistive technology? How do we incorporate, different organization of our training in technical assistance services? So that's been something that I feel like we've grown a lot in the last couple of years.
Great. Deborah, I know you've got questions.
I do have questions. I'm really proud to have worked with Dr. Lee and his team for a couple of years, and now we are not formally working together. We're always informally working together, trying to make a difference in the world. But they've done quite a bit, not only to make sure that accessibility and disability inclusion is happening in the United States, but globally as well. And so I was hoping that you might talk just for a minute or so, just update us on the MOOC that you created, because I know you had, well, the thing there's several things that are interesting about the MOOC, and I'll let you explain what a MOOC is and what it was on. But the thing that really I was touched by, Christopher, was how much effort you took to make sure that the platform was accessible. And actually, Georgia Tech, under your leadership, platform from one provider to another provider because the other provider was more accessible, which was a pretty powerful move and something we haven't seen. So I was just wondering if you could just elaborate a little bit on that, talk about what a MOOC is and what this was, and is still available and still relevant, and people can join it. So talk a little bit about that. Thank
Oh,
you.
that's great. Yeah, Deborah, I'll give you a little bit a kind of overview of the MOOC. MOOC stands for Massive Open Online Course, and there are several platforms out there, 5 or 6 of them. Coursera being one, edX being another one, that both of them coming out of university settings for the most part. It's a way of actually to provide content on demand very quickly, and you can put courses up there, and they're usually free, and that's pretty exciting. We ended up using the edX platform for our MOOC, which launched a little over a year and a half ago. It's still open, and I can provide the link for it. It provides 6 modules. The first module focusing on what is a disability, what is ICT accessibility. Then we jump into the second module, which deals with design. Then we hit assistive technology and content accessibility. We also hit web accessibility. And finally, the last module focuses on how do you take an organization and make it more accessible from an ICT accessibility standpoint from start to finish. And we've had over 160 countries touch the MOOC. We've had over 6,000 participants. I think we're very close to 7,000 right now, which for a MOOC is not a huge amount, but for the actual topic, which is relatively new, meaning ICT accessibility, and that's the topic of the MOOC, we were very happy with it. There is a research component that's tied to the actual modules that we're running, and the research that we're trying to collect, the information that we're trying to collect, is how do individuals that are taking the MOOC, how is ICT, how they impacted the ICT in the organization. So what is their role? Are they a content manager? Are they a developer? Are they in an administration? Are they in procurement? And how does the policies, procedures within the organization affect ICT accessibility? So we are hoping, and I'll back up, not only from the internal aspect, but also from the customer standpoint too. So we're looking at it from 2 angles. And the research ended about 6 months ago, and we're right in the process of analyzing that data. The MOOC has been somewhat successful that we have kept it open until July of, actually until January of this year. So that has been a really nice attribute to the services that we're offering, and it has really got our name out there. I'm proud to say, and this goes back to what you started talking about, Deborah, was that we did use edX. We were going to use Coursera, which is another platform, and we did accessibility auditing on that platform, and it just didn't meet the standards that we wanted to make sure that the course was accessible, since it's on ICT accessibility. So it was something that we did hold. We did not launch the course when we could have. It was completed for about 6 months, and we battled with making sure that we were on the right platform. So that whole process was interesting. And I'm looking forward to writing more about that. I've done a few articles that haven't been published yet, and so we're trying. It's always difficult when you're dealing with different vendors and making sure that you're appropriate with how you're recognizing them in this field. So that's exciting. Then from that, we have started our class, our internal class at Georgia Tech on the edX platform. So that's been exciting also.
Yeah, and I want you to tell us a little bit more about it. I just saw a video one of the students did that talked about an AXSChat that we had with my Chief Accessibility Officer, Rosemary Musacchio, and it really is a very touching video. And I also know that Antonio has a question, so maybe you can just talk a little bit about the class, and I can turn the mic over to Antonio.
Okay, I'd be happy to. So I'm pretty excited about this class. Georgia Tech has run several classes that has accessibility that's built into it, but this is the first ICT Foundation accessibility course, and it's a summer course. We tried to do it online. These are students, are undergraduates that are at Georgia Tech, and they are traveling throughout the globe during the summer, and they needed a way actually to earn additional credits. And so we put up a summer, what they call SOUP course, which is a summer online course. And it's been pretty successful. We had 11 students tied to it, and all the content was on edX. And what we did was we went a little deeper in the specific topic areas that we had in the MOOC that I just described, that's open for free. This one is actually you have to actually be a Georgia Tech student to actually take the course. And one of the ideas was we wanted to wrap in different elements that would make this course really, because it was all online, we wanted to make it real. So AXSChat was one of those areas that we decided to add into each of the 5 weeks. So as a project, they had to watch AXSChat video and or participate in the AXSChat event, a live event, and either write a paper for us, or they had to do a video, and if they were watching the live AXSChat event, they had to basically, participate in answering the questions. So as you mentioned, one of the students in the course decided to do a video. She watched one of the past AXSChat, and it was something that really opened her eyes and impressed the instructor, myself, as well as the other instructor, quite a bit on what she learned from it. So kudos to you all for having such great content for us to be able to use.
Thank you. Antonio?
So, Chris, if when you look back to if you to the elements from that MOOC, is there something that has surprised you in terms of attendees by geography or answer something that you're not expecting in terms of answers or questions?
That's a great question, and I probably need to give it some thought. The geography aspect of it, um, we were pretty much in most every country, and it was interesting to see the actual stats from those different countries. And I wish I had that in front of me. I don't, but I don't think that really surprised me so much, even though I was really happy to see that happen. What did surprise me is that people were very passionate about this subject. They wanted to engage more from a social media standpoint, which we didn't have set up as much in the MOOC. And if I would have done it differently, and I will go back and we'll probably retool the course, I'll probably have a social media aspect tied to it. So like a Facebook, or more of a Twitter account tied to it. I think that was one mistake I made. I don't know if it would be a mistake. It's just something that I think I could engage the students more. And I'm talking the larger MOOC here. But again, monitoring, as y'all know, monitoring stuff can be very difficult, social media. So that was something that we were a little concerned about. But that's pretty much what I learned mostly about the actual course, is that I think we could have had more interaction. We would have seen a higher completion rate if we would have had social media built into it. A lot of comments said that.
So, by your words, I assume that by doing the MOOC, the students end up becoming a kind of an informal community, and they were somehow willing to make the effort to be part of that community. That's very interesting. So lead me to my second question. What do you think was the main thing to motivate them to do the course?
Wow. Well, the two courses, the first course being the larger MOOC, I would have to say definitely it could be legal. A lot for a lot of people from the U.S. It could be, making sure that they are compliant. I would say that they seem to be interested in it. It's something that they're hearing a lot about it. They'll within their professional roles within their organization. So from the MOOC, the larger MOOC standpoint, the ICT Foundation MOOC, I think those are the primary two. We have a lot of individuals that were developers that were on that MOOC, and I think that to me speaks a lot, that technically that they're trying to figure things out and how to make things accessible, even though a lot of the information is out there. Like the WC3 has all this information out there, it has to be packaged certain ways, and I think we wanted to break it down in bite size. I think that made a big difference to a lot of the developers that have participated. We have really good feedback from the developers. In regards to the course, the Georgia Tech course, particularly with the 11 students I was talking about, it's interesting. Biomedical engineering, we had several biomedical engineer students, like 4 or 5. Industrial design, a couple of the students really interested in aging, the population. It was these very bright students had a social cause for participating in this. It wasn't just getting the credit. It was the fact that they wanted to make what they are developing, what they're the products that they're going to be developing in the long run more accessible. So to me, that just really warmed my heart to hear and see in the discussion thread of what they want to do in the future to make their products and their companies that they work for more accessible.
That's great to hear. I'm always interested to try and go outside of our niche area and spread the word into interdisciplinary training and cross-fertilization of ideas and concepts, etc. I think it's really important that people that are engineering for the next generation understand some of the core concepts. So I know that Deborah's got another question and is sitting here patiently waiting for me to shut up, so I shall duly do so.
No, I love listening to you talk, Neil. One of my favorite accents. So I am just curious, Christopher. I know that your organization, which is part of Georgia Tech, is AMAC, and that you work with a lot of your customers are universities all over the world. I heard the number one time, 2,500, and so pretty significant. I know you work with corporations and others as well as nonprofits, but are you seeing a trend happening around the world of more universities really getting involved in these, really making sure that the students of the day, like the woman that was in your class, and you could tell that just joining AXSChat and watching some videos, that you could tell that it changed this woman's life, and it was very powerful. And that we need to make sure that all of the students are in these different, they're in college in these different fields, that they understand the value of all of us being included, and how do you include people with accessibility and disability inclusion. And so I was just curious if you're seeing a positive trend or more universities getting involved. Are there some master's degree, bachelor degree programs that are coming up? I know there's some in Spain and other countries, but what are you seeing? Because I know you really have your thumb on the pulse of what's happening globally, because you're doing a lot of speaking internationally on these topics.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I'm seeing two things, Deborah. The first thing I'm seeing, specifically in the U.S., we're seeing a lot of uptake from our disability service providers at the universities about ICT accessibility. They're getting more involved, even though they may not have the expertise in that area. Some of them might, but they're getting more involved. We just finished the HEAD conference, which is the Association of Higher Education and Disabilities, that was held in Orlando this past week, and it was the largest attendee group, and our team was down there. And the feedback that I received is just that they're eating this up alive. They want to know, they want more information, they want more training around the technology aspects, around making sure that their campus is accessible. We're also seeing more OCR complaints regarding web accessibility, making sure that these campuses have accessible websites or learning management platforms, that procurement is engaged in with accessibility. So, being in Georgia, I've seen it from our system office, but I've also been hearing about it throughout the U.S. Globally, we're seeing a lot happen, and I think that's, the IAAP has been a piece of this, of us seeing what's happening regarding web accessibility and individuals becoming more and more certified in this particular area. So we're seeing a lot that is happening. In regards to actual courses out there or master's degrees, or you're right, Spain has done some nice things, and Germany has done some nice areas. That we've got Stuttgart University that's doing a series of actual courses on accessibility. There's a EU MOOC that's out there that ties an additional 8 universities around that. That's a MOOC that's pretty impressive, that's being launched slowly, and was funded by the EU. So there's some stuff that's happening. It's difficult to say. It doesn't seem like it's networking real well yet. We've been working closely with Stuttgart University to bring their expertise over to the U.S. and for us to learn more about what they're doing, specifically in topics like accessible gaming. which is real popular. And so there's some really nice things that we are doing. The Teach Access group is moving forward, but they're focusing mostly on the U.S. and not from a global standpoint at this time, from my understanding. And they've pretty much been focused on bringing expert speakers in to universities to teach faculty and work with faculty, or to give presentations to the university community. So there's a lot of shifting going on in this field. There's no, from my perspective, and this is only my perspective, there's not glue yet. There's nothing sticking together with getting some of these universities doing courses. And Georgia Tech's doing what we can, but we really do need to network more and get other universities a part of it. So hopefully Teach Access will continue to grow, not only in the U.S., but from a global standpoint. Because we have a lot to learn from the individuals outside the U.S.
Okay, thank you, Christopher. We noticed recently that the G3 ICT they launched a kind of a roadmap for smart cities.
Mm-hmm.
Considering that you are at the university that very innovative, and the areas of technology are very important for the university, for the students, and I'm sure that this is an area that someone at Georgia Tech is exploring. So how do you see yourself and your role in the area of accessibility to try to expand awareness about the importance of this area of technology when we are developing smart cities, when we are developing virtual reality and augmented reality? What do you think it can be done in that area?
Yeah, that's a great question. And Georgia Tech, actually, I want to back up with before you get to the smart cities, there's the smart homes, right? And we've learned a lot about smart homes. And Georgia Tech actually has on our campus a smart home that they've had for over a decade now. And that home continues to evolve as students go in there and they develop specific new technology that actually helps that help somebody to be more independent living in their home. So it's an area that Georgia Tech takes very seriously, and we are seeing more and more and that has transferred more to the smart cities. I believe, and we're seeing more and more work done in this area. There is that one of the segments that I had in my course was that for the students at Georgia Tech that I just am teaching right now, that's finishing up this week. It has a section on smart cities, and the feedback that I saw so far, I haven't analyzed a lot because we're just closing down the course this week, but it's pretty impressive. These students are very excited and very knowledgeable just what's out there already and what has been provided out there, and how smart cities can actually streamline services for all people, not just people with disabilities, and save cost. So it's something that I'm really excited to see Georgia Tech get more involved in, and see these students that work in these interactive labs on campus start really addressing some of these issues out there.
Fantastic. So I know that one of the key issues for smart cities and the Internet of Things is effectively the interoperability of all of these devices, and that requires some kind of leadership or alliance, or and there are a number of players in this space, Fireware being one that is looking at standards. So one of the things that we need standards for the APIs and knitting everything together, but we also need to ensure that people that are creating those kind of standards understand the premise of accessibility, and also the promise that these technologies hold for people with disabilities, because it does hold enormous promise, but only if we've considered it from the outset. Because as with everything, we've got the adoption curve, and what we see is the new technology coming along and people adopting it, and accessibility lagging behind as a lagging indicator. So the earlier we can get in and address some of these issues, the less of a lag we've got. Is Georgia Tech involved in any of the sort of standards creation bodies or anything like that when it comes to sort of smart homes, smart cities, Internet of Things?
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Tech is, and AMAC itself hasn't been as involved, other than more the course development. But Georgia Tech has been involved for years, and we have a couple individuals here, faculty, that have been involved in developing standards, guidelines, or sitting on committees in regards to that, specifically in smart homes, not smart cities. I am excited that one of our employees that we have with AMAC that joined us about a year and a half ago has come from Spain, and he's got a lot of experience with working with different countries, specifically Qatar, in regards to what they're doing over there regarding smart cities. But in regards to the standard question guidelines, we're not touching that so much. But we do have a couple faculty here at Georgia Tech that have been highly involved in it.
Great. And my thoughts go out to the guys that are sat on the standards committees, because it's a long road that they're traveling down.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, standards, it's something that everybody loves to hate, but it is something we need to, have a bar that we all know we have to know where we're trying to reach. So, yeah. And once again, that's why we need the universities involved in the conversations. We need to make sure the students actually that are learning these, these skills know about accessibility. I was very hopeful, because I was working with a very large telecommunications company in the US, and I went to train them technically on accessibility, and a lot of the people in the class knew about this. I mean, they knew, some of them knew more about ARIA than I do. So I was very impressed, and I've mentioned it on AXSChat before, but I was like, well, if you know about it, why aren't you doing it? And they said, well, we're being told to do a lot of things, and until our employer tells us this is the priority, we sort of have to, follow, what we're being told. So they were really stoked that this major corporation was making it a priority. But it seemed to me that the universities must be preparing, they're using things like IAAP and Think Accessibility, and the conferences, the enabling that Neil mentioned. So I'm hoping they're learning stuff from AXSChat. So I think it's all of us doing this together. But the universities play a very important role.
Yeah, and Deborah, you're so right, and I think that there's a handful of universities that are really embracing it, but we still got a lot of work to do on networking with more universities, not just in the U.S. but globally. Enabling, we ran a track, higher education ICT accessibility track. This was our second year doing so. It was much more, it was received much more, I think, positive than it was last year. We had stronger speakers, and we started kind of getting our act together on where we were going and trying to align each other. A couple of the sessions focused on, just kind of having, learning from each other and what's going on in the different campuses, and that's challenging in itself. You have one campus that's getting audited for compliance. There's a lot that they're learning, and that needs to be, taken to best practices and moved over to other campuses. So, it's hard though. What especially in the U.S. What we're seeing, and I'm sure it's the same internationally, is that you have universities out there that they don't want to share this stuff because it doesn't make them look good, right? So it needs to be a safe environment, and that's why enabling is so important, because it is an area, or our conferences like enabling, that you can be safe and you can open it up and bring those experts in and learn from each other. And so I'm real hopeful that we're going to continue to grow that track at enabling and getting universities more involved in this field, and not just the disability related folks on campus, but the everyone, the procurement folks, the content managers, the developers, and so on. So that there's definitely some work that we still have to do.
I agree, and I also we got to get Antonio to the enabling event, and there's the Funka conference is amazing. The conference that they hold in Israel, I heard that one just is amazing too. And there's some really good things happening, but I think the opportunity to really make sure all stakeholders are included, and like you said, Chris, that it is a safe place, because I know in one of the sessions that I was running, one of the panelists started trashing a few corporations. And I think we got to really be careful about saying Georgia Tech is terrible, because it's not. Everybody's trying. So I think, one thing we have to do is be more welcoming. And so we still got some work to do on that. But let me turn it back over to Neil.
Oh, great. Okay. So I agree with you wholeheartedly that we need to have what I think are affectionately known as the Chatham House rules when you're discussing these things. It's the only way that you can really get people to come out and talk about the truth of quite how difficult they found things, because we've all been there and no one's perfect. But yeah, you need that. You do need that safe environment to talk about the mistakes you've made, and we've all made some, plenty, no doubt. So, and it's really good if other people can learn from your mistakes as well as you. I think it's truly important. I think that also we need to find ways of taking the accessibility elements to other conferences too. So I know that Antonio, Debra, and I have all got our eyes on South by Southwest as a particular target where we think, you know, there's some accessibility in there already, but you know, it's some of the other major industry conferences that we want to infiltrate and really be starting to take that message out there. You know, maybe we need to go to CeBIT and a few others as well. You know, just spend our life on the road. I don't think that would be too popular with my wife, but essentially, when we go to accessibility conferences, they're great. I learn a lot, but we're talking to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we definitely need to be talking with the wider world, the people that are making the decisions. And yes, Antonio is prodding me in the background saying World Economic Forum. Yes, I want to go to Davos. Yes, David Bray, if you're listening, I still want to talk to you about that. Yes, we have a topic that we can discuss, and it is a global topic, and we have some ideas. But those are the kind of things, yeah, we want to address the leaders. We want to address people that are making big overarching decisions that aren't just about accessibility, but accessibility needs to be in their mindset, because population aging, disability, interrelated, they're megatrends.
Yep.
And megatrends are the stuff that governments need to be thinking about. It's been brilliant chatting with you again. Half an hour seems to have flown by. I look forward to you joining us on Twitter tomorrow night. Thank you very much, Christopher.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Christopher.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.